morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Rich Clark, Guide to the Right Path. So, as this week, I'm going to talk about the subject of anxiety, and all these are going to be linked to issues I deal with clients as a hypnotherapist, psychotherapist, and a CBT practitioner. So, first of all, as this is part one, what is anxiety and what are the different types, which I'm going to explain to you. So, a psychological and physiological response characterised by excessive worrying, fearful thought scenarios created and physical symptoms like breathing difficulties and increased rapid heartbeat. This disorder can severely impact daily life. So I'm going to give some examples of anxiety I have seen with clients. So the first one I'm going to do is called GAD, called Generalised Anxiety Disorder. The symptoms of this are persistent and excessive worry about various aspects of life, restlessness, fatigue, difficulty concentrating, irritability, muscle tension, and sleep disturbances. Now, the effects on this person would be a client might constantly anticipate disaster in work situations despite good performance. And they may struggle with making even the minor decisions due to fear of negative outcomes. And I've talked about this, about fear of negativity, fear of success, fear of failure. Physical symptoms like tension, headaches, or digestive issues may interfere with daily activities, and relationships may suffer as the person seems always on edge or preoccupied. The next disorder of an anxiety disorder is called social anxiety disorder, or SAD. We don't call it SAD because obviously that is seasonal angst depression, but it is actually in the anxiety field is called SAD. So the symptoms: intense fear of social situations, worry about embarrassment or humiliation, avoidance of social interactions, physical symptoms like blushing, sweating, and trembling. The effects on the person might decline career advancement opportunities that require public speaking. So public speaking is something I deal with a lot as a hypnotherapist, is to get people who actually need to do that. That's probably one of the big things which is linked to anxiety, is public speaking, and that's usually linked to people with childhood and their issues where they've been embarrassed when they've done a public speaking in a school or a play or so forth. Another thing of the effect is could isolate themselves, missing important social connections and support. They may experience significant issues or distress when forced into social situations, and they might develop unhealthy coping mechanisms like substance abuse or use before social events. Another anxiety disorder is called panic disorder. This is quite severe for a lot of people. The symptoms: recurring unexpected panic attacks, and we also call them anxiety attacks. These persistent concern about future attacks, behaviour changes, and to avoid situations associated with panic. So the effects on a person: a client might avoid places where they've previously had panic attacks, may develop agoraphobia, severely limiting their movement and independence. Now, agoraphobia is about the fear of public spaces, the fear of places, and so forth. Might experience intense fear between attacks, creating a cycle of anticipatory anxiety. So the anticipation of that you could have an anxiety attack. Within this is daily functioning can be significantly impaired by the unpredictability of attacks. So, and then the next few I'm just going to explain is specific phobias, which is the symptoms are marked fear or anxiety about specific objects or situations, immediate anxiety response when exposed to the phobic stimulus, avoidance behaviours. So the effects on a person: so this example is someone with aerophobia, it's the fear of flying, might limit career or travel opportunities. I have a video about the fear of flying, but I will be resharing it on Friday as well. A person with hemophobia is the fear of blood, might avoid necessary medical care, operations, and so forth. That will be a new thing for fear on phobias Friday, which will be released on Friday. Daily routines might be altered to avoid accountants with a fear object or situation. Quality of life can diminish as the world becomes increasingly restricted. Now, these are the next two biggest issues we deal with is disorders, and these are the first one. I'm going to talk about OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, and the other one I'm going to talk about is post-traumatic stress disorder afterwards. So obsessive compulsive disorder, I have a video also about that, but I'm going to explain it very briefly here instead of the long video I've done. So symptoms is intrusive thoughts, obsessions, repetitive or repeated behaviour or mental acts, compulsions, significantly spent time on routines. So effect on a person: a client might be hours late to appointments due to checking rituals. Relationships may suffer as relationships with family members become frustrated with rigid routines. Work performance might decline due to time spent on compulsions, mental exhaustion from constantly battling unwanted thoughts. A film which actually shows this very well, and I have a link of talking about this film, is As Good As It Gets. Though it's a comedy, Jack Nicholson's character, Melvin, actually deals with this issue. Now, the next one, post-traumatic stress disorder. We hear of PTSD a lot, and this is actually something that's very important for us to understand. So PTSD is the symptoms, is intrusive memories of traumatic events. The trauma is the part of it. Is avoidance of trauma reminders, negative changes in thinking and mood, and the changes in physical and emotional reactions to this. So PTSD can actually be very much, is misdiagnosed with people, but it's actually usually, we say it's from people who've been in war. The traumatic events can be, PTSD can also be from people who have suffered abuse, either from parents, family, relationship abuse and so forth, and bullying within workplaces or so forth. PTSD is a big subject. So the effects on the person is they might experience flashbacks that temporarily disconnect them from their reality. They have sleep disturbances which can lead to chronic failure and fatigue affecting work performance. Their hypervigilance may make relaxation impossible in any environment, and their emotional numbing might prevent forming or maintaining close relationships. And the last anxiety is health anxiety. These are people who excessively worry about having or developing serious illness, preoccupation with body sensations, frequent medical consultations, or avoidance of medical care altogether. And we used to call these hypochondriacs, but now we call it health anxiety. It's a better word as well. Because hypochondriac sometimes is basically saying that people are making up things, where actually there is issues within that. So the effects on this person would be a client might constantly research symptoms online, increasing their distress. So you hear about people who read WebMD all the time or so forth. May frequently seek medical reassurance, straining healthcare relationships, might avoid physical activity for fear of triggering symptoms, and daily life becomes dominated by health concerns and protective behaviours. Now, if any of these you hear or you recognise the symptoms of these or something you have, please, if you need help or you just want to have you can have a consultation with me, which is a free discovery call. And if you go to my website of www.richclark.net, we can work with that and find out what these issues are. So until next time, tomorrow is how would I cure these issues? What therapies, techniques would I do to relieve them? And that will be released tomorrow for anxiety part 2. So until then, speak to you soon.